All right, half a day. The time is 10:03 a.m. and it's my pleasure to call the steering committee meeting for Guam Green Growth to order. I want to first recognize Guam Green Growth and the excellent um, ribbon cutting and opening of the G3 Makerspace. It really is just such an awesome thing, and what it does, what it's bringing, I think, what it's going to bring to the Chamorro Village. It actually brings it back to the purpose that Chamorro Village was designed for back in the 90s, which was at that time a business incubator. And I think this is a great, remarkable opportunity to partner with the small businesses, with the businesses that just cleared the GUMA program to get in there and create products, and then also having a marketplace. It is, as Dr. Shelton said yesterday, perfect circular economy project or a movement, and I just think that's awesome. A couple of things I just wanted to mention briefly before we get into the agenda. Dr. Shelton and I have been working on 2 additional engagements that are going to be featured as part of the Conference on Island Sustainability in April. The first one is we've been working with the Governor's Youth Council and the Guam Youth Congress, and as I understand it, the youth ambassadors to help develop a program where our youth are identifying action areas that they are going to lead, or they're going to call for, or in some cases, they're going to add value to the work that we're already doing. So there's been some engagement already and some work, and what we would expect is they will have their anchor event will be happening around the time of the conference, and they'll have an excellent opportunity to do a report out to all of us in the conference on what they're charting for the future. The second subset is we're going to be focusing on the issue of housing, and it's going to be what we're imagining is a track within the conference that is going to be focused on housing, the situation going on with the gaps in construction and some of the barriers, and what some of the government agencies, the private sector, and the nonprofits are doing to try and bridge the gap. And I think we're also going to have an opportunity to kind of focus and showcase the work that we've been doing with the Interagency Council on Homelessness and the Guam Homeless Coalition and those partners. So I think that it's going to, what I'm excited about is it is a big relevant topic right now. And there is a housing crisis and a lot of challenges going on as a result of all of the construction activity that's happening, and making sure that we focus the efforts on providing for the low and moderate income families that are working every day to improve their quality of life. So very excited about that and that additional focus. And when Dr. Shelton and I talked about it, we see the Conference on Island Sustainability as a very good point of inflection, reflection, but also a good starting point for action. And I think I've seen that before with various topics, and I think we'll be able to add value on those fronts with this work. And then, of course, how the different projects and movements are supportive of all the work we're trying to keep track of here at Guam Green Growth. So with that, I will pass it to Dr. Shelton.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant Governor, and thanks for giving us a preview of what our conference will be. We got some good news on the 2022 University of Guam Conference on Island Sustainability. The dates are April 4th through the 8th, 2022, and it's going to be a hybrid event, both at the Hyatt Regency Guam and online. And our University of Guam President Thomas Kreis and Governor Leon Guerrero will be serving as the co-chairs again this year to continue to build on the progress of previous years and share a lot about our Guam Green Growth updates. And since we have our co-chair of Guam Green Growth on our Zoom call today, I just want to defer to President Kreis to make some remarks before the rest of my updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Austin. Thanks everybody for yesterday's really great ribbon cutting. Thanks to the LT for being there with, it was really terrific turnout, great coverage in the press and everything. I think a lot of enthusiasm for that project. So thanks for that. And looking forward to the conference and the opportunity to highlight all of this really great work that's going on. And what I love so much is the overlapping groups and overlapping sort of strategic plans that are being reinforced by the multiplicity of people and groups involved. So I think this will be a really great opportunity to advance things that we all care about. So thanks very much, Austin. Well done.
Thank you very much, President Kreis. And for the conference again, here is the theme, Harnessing Wind in Our Sails to Sustainable 2030, which will build upon the momentum that we've had in these past 2 years. We're not slowing down. We are in the third year of the Decade of Action, which the United Nations tells us is the most important decade to save our planet, basically, with all of the challenges of climate change and pandemics. We need to refocus and make sure that we're moving forward with the momentum that we've built here through Guam Green Growth and what the other islands around us are doing too. So we're looking forward to bringing that to the table and finally back in person if all goes well over the next couple of months. So we'll see you April 4th through the 8th, 2022 at the Hyatt and online. The next announcement that I have is that as you know from our meeting in the previous months, we were recruiting for our second cohort, or the season 2 of the Guam Green Growth Conservation Corps, where we are doing workforce development for agriculture, aquaculture, renewable energy, removal of invasive species, ocean conservation, watershed restoration, and so much more. And we received many applications, and we are in the process now. Our team is reviewing them and conducting interviews. So we should have an announcement on the next 12 cohort members by early next month. So we're looking forward to getting our Conservation Corps out in the community again and you'll see them with the weekly village island beautification events and all the other training events that they'll be doing throughout the year. So next, I'd like to just share a few pictures of what we had yesterday for the G3 Circular Economy Makerspace and Innovation Hub opening at Chamorro Village. And I'm going to pass it over after that to our Circular Economy Coordinator, Miracle Mugol, to give more details on how to get involved and what to expect in the makerspace to come. So we have 3 of the houses at the Chamorro Village now that we have this operation going. And so it's really exciting. Again, the circular economy is to transform our linear economy, bend it into a loop, and help our community to regenerate natural systems, keep materials in use, and design out waste and pollution. And we can do that in a tangible way, right? So when we were first talking about Guam Green Growth, how are we going to figure out these sustainability challenges about the overproduction of waste and the over-reliance on imports and do something about that in a tangible way? So we wanted to put the ownership role of the emerging green economy in the hands of our people and give them a space to use their creativity to turn waste products into new marketable products. So here at the Makerspace, there will be an assortment of, there is an assortment of power tools, an assortment of equipment such as a CNC router and 3D printers, a laser cutter where you can make many things. We have small tools for creating pieces of jewelry or small components for machineries or machinery. And then there in the other house, we have a innovation hub where it's part classroom and part demonstration store where all of the makers can test their products on consignment. They're in the Chamorro Village space. And hopefully they'll become successful with the business development resources and testing the market and eventually spill over into the other vacant spots at Chamorro Village, really generating new circular economy industries for our island. Just a few more pictures. So we have a beautiful space here with lots of local products already in place for if you'd like to go in and take a look or pick up some gifts, we have them available now that the grand opening happened yesterday. Okay, and with that, I'd like to introduce again our G3 Circular Economy Coordinator, supported by the National Science Foundation Guam EPSCoR program here at the University of Guam, Ms. Miracle Mogul, to give some more details on how to get involved in the makerspace.
Hi, half a day, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining us yesterday, and those who couldn't make it all for the moral support that came our way via email, text. Austin has the same talking point. He already described what the Makerspace Innovation Hub is and what's in it. My part is our hours. So we are working on expanding currently until we adjust it. We are open Tuesdays to Saturdays just to give makers a chance to come in, especially those who have jobs. So the store will be open Tuesday to Saturday, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then the working spaces will be open Tuesday to Saturday, 10:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Of course, if we have members or a group of members who do need to stay, they can work something out with me or our staff, and we can have special accommodations along with other partnering groups. We just need to have a communication line with that. For those interested in seeing the space, I'll drop my email address both here and on the Facebook Live, where you can contact me and we can schedule a tour. We encourage people to kind of come in and tell us what are the ideas, businesses, or products you want to make, so then we can help assign you the proper, I guess, what do you call specialists to help with the special need to use, or maybe the business advisor from one of our partners from DC School of Business and Public Administration at the University of Guam, or from GUMA, because we want all entrepreneurs to succeed. And so that's not just, that's beyond the tools found in our space, that's also the software classes. And with that said, please pay attention to our Guam Green Growth social media. We will be announcing trainings as they become available within our Innovation Hub. Currently, we have specialized machine training with the laser cutter. Before you can touch the laser cutter or the CNC router or any of these special machines, we want to make sure you're trained. Members get a special price for it. And of course, if you're not a member, you can still do the training for what would be the valued rate for it. Right now we have an introductory price for the annual membership of $400 for the whole year. Monthly membership is $50, and this, and you can email me directly and I could send you the entire info sheet, and that's basically it.
Okay, thank you so much, Miracle, and thank you to you and your team for the amazing feat of getting the place up and running and opening it to the public yesterday. So congratulations on doing that. Thank you so much. All right, now I'll pass it back over to our G3 coordinator. I think everybody knows Rita Bernardo, who is also our in charge of our dashboard, the G3 dashboard. So as you remember that Lauren has transitioned over to another place in Washington, D.C. with the Pew Charitable Trusts, and we're very happy to have the very capable and amazing Rita Bernardo to help us with the coordination for these next few months for our steering committee and working group. All right, take it away. Thank you, Rita.
Thank you, Austin, or Dr. Shelton. Hafaday and good morning, everyone. So I will go ahead and kick us off to our updates from the G3 coordinator. So as Dr. Shelton mentioned, we will be having our biannual meeting during the 2022 UOG conference for island sustainability. So we don't have the date and the time yet confirmed. However, please save the date on your calendar for April 4th to April 8th. And I'll be sure to update you all once the date and time is confirmed and the registration link is available for you all to register. The next update I do have to prepare you for the biannual meeting are the Quadrant Reports. I'm sure many of the co-chairs for all the teams are aware of the Quadrant Report, but I'll quickly just share my screen and give a general overview of instructions for completing this. So, all right, I think this is the right one. Okay. So as you all know, you may be familiar, but this is the quadrant report that your team leads will be submitting by March 31st. This will be where you will provide a summary of all the results that you've been able to accomplish since our last biannual meeting in September 2021 and what you expect to achieve by September 2022 in our next biannual meeting later this year, as well as emerging opportunities and any support you'll need in accomplishing your goals. And then if there's additional information you'd like to provide, there's also that slide. So I will be sharing this template for your respective teams later today. So just expect that in your inboxes today. One other thing to support you in filling out this document is the updated working document. So I'll just share that. So this is the G3 Action Framework Working Document version 3. This is the most up-to-date document that has all the updates from the previous biannual meeting last September. So just be sure that you are using the working document dated January 24th, 2022, and use this to make your updates, based on your FY21 to 22 action items and making your updates in the updates column. And I will be more than available from now till March 31st to really assist you and your team to making sure that you are prepared for the biannual meeting. And so please feel free to reach out to me and your co-chair team leads to make sure that you have your updates ready to be shared at the biannual. So with that, that's pretty much it for the updates on the biannual. Again, I'll be sending out the email with more instructions to completing the quadrant reports, again, due March 31st, and that's a Thursday. And finally, my other update is
Rita, just before you get to the next part, I just wanted to mention for our steering committee members to also remember that the biannual meeting is an opportunity to update the G3 action framework. So there are always opportunities emerging that will help us advance towards the sustainable future. So if you think that there's, for example, a huge new grant to the island and you think it's going to help advance some of the goals of a sustainable future and it's not yet listed in the action framework, let's make sure to get that into the latest version or into this next version, which our chairs, President Christ and Governor Leon Guerrero will review and sign off on at these 2 times per year. We get to do this at these biannual meetings during April and September. So I just wanted to mention that if you got any ideas, we want to make sure that it gets incorporated into the action framework and we find a way to track it on the G3 dashboard, which is how we track all of our local actions to make global impact in this decade of action to sustainable 2030. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Shelton. So just my final updates are the G3 dashboard. Really quickly, right now we do have the Educated, Capable, and Compassionate Island web pages still under review. And then we have the Sustainable Alliances webpage in review with the Sustainable Alliance team. And then I'll be sharing the Sustainable Hut or Sustainable Homes, Utilities, and Transportation webpage mockups with their team as well to review. And so we do hope to have these live, if not by the end of the month, then definitely in good shape for our biannual meeting. And so that pretty much wraps up my updates. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask them now or chat them, and I'll be sure to get back to answering those questions. Okay, so I guess we can now move on to the next agenda item, which is updates from our team leads. And we can kick off with the healthy and prosperous communities. I know Miss Lola's on, but I know she will have to hop off in like a couple minutes. So if Miss Lola can quickly jump on and provide some updates.
Hi, good morning. Half a day, everyone. Good morning, the Lieutenant Governor. and everyone. So our group did meet last week, and so we are now updating the action items as far as where we're at with completion. So what we're trying to do now is I'm trying to work with the individual POCs with the action leads to actually get the detailed information. So I did send out a couple of emails to Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center and to DPW. So I was able to get DPW's information this morning. And then I will be setting up some individual calls with the assigned POCs to kind of talk to them about where they're at with the different action items so that we can update the framework. And that's all that I have to report.
Thank you, Lola. And now we can move on to the next team lead, which is for the Educated, Capable, and Compassionate Island. At this time, Dr. Okada is actually not available to attend today, and I do not see any other of her co-chairs or her vice chair on this call. So we can actually move towards the next team for Sustainable Homes, Utilities, and Transportation. I do see Vince Areola on the call.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Lieutenant Governor. Just our quick update. It was brought up at the last meeting that the trash bins, the recycle bins, were ready for pickup. I think most of the mayors have picked them up. The large three bin capacity recycling bins. But I believe we still have 6 left. So I'll be contacting if I don't. I'm not sure what the protocol was, whether you folks were contacting the mayors, but we've got 6 left for the mayors to pick up. And then, as I mentioned in this morning's text to you folks, we have 50 of the smaller bins. I think my recollection was those were going to go out to all parks or public areas as well. So we still have that in our compound and awaiting distribution. And then, lastly, we're going to include in our action items, and as the Lieutenant Governor was talking about earlier, we are releasing a request for information for interested parties, interested developers and contractors. The Guam Housing Corporation is looking to build somewhere in the neighborhood of about 160 homes. Not Guam Housing, the Chamorro Land Trust, in one of their tracts of land up there in Jigo. They've got like 160 some lots that they would like to build affordable homes. So we have a request for interest that's being released shortly, and I think as we move that forward, we're gonna make sure that there are a lot of sustainable elements involved in both the design and in the construction of those homes. It's as the Lieutenant Governor, we're trying to make it affordable for first-time home buyers. And these are going to be 2 and 3 bedroom homes, I believe. And so right now we're just we're going to send out a request just to see what interest is out there for whatever contractors or developers could take on this project. And that should be real exciting. 160 plus homes added to the inventory of affordable homes and sustainable homes is going to be a real big accomplishment for this administration. Thank you. Thanks, Rita.
Thank you, Vince. And then we can now move to the next team, Thriving Natural Resources. And I don't see Vanji on the call, but I do see Fran. So Fran, if you can provide any updates.
Yep. So good morning, Lieutenant Governor and President Christ and everyone. Vanji sends her apology. She just got summoned to testify at a hearing right before this meeting started. So just a few progress updates from our meeting last week. So GWA has been working with USGS, WERI, and DOD to install additional monitoring wells to collect data in different parts of the aquifer. So the project will be completed by October of this year, and the data will be used to better manage the aquifer. BSP has started the work to complete the Guam Sustainability Plan. This plan will replace the Guam Comprehensive Master Plan and the Southern master plan, and we updated the goal and the framework to reflect this change. So Rita, I don't know if you have to also update the master listing of the framework. GEPA or Guam EPA and BSP have revived the Watershed Planning Committee to get a hold of all the watershed activities that are happening, especially in priority watersheds. They've identified 2 categories of watersheds, which is drinking water and marine water resources. And having a watershed plan really ensures that the community knows what activities are occurring in the watersheds and have an opportunity to obtain funding for projects that will improve the health of the watershed. The group will also be revisiting the priority watershed listing and update it as necessary. So any watershed plans moving forward by any organization must be endorsed by the Watershed Planning Committee to ensure that it meets the required key elements, such as identifying the causes and sources of pollution and their expected load reductions. NOAA, I think through BSP or Department of Agriculture, has hired Horsley Witten Group. They've been a long-time contractor that does watershed work here on Guam. And they'll be writing a watershed plan for the Manel-Gayos watershed. Habitat conservation plan, the work continues. At the end of this month, they will start conducting outreach with stakeholder groups, government agencies, developers, non-government organizations, and cultural resources group to get input for their plan. A website for the Habitat Conservation Plan will be launched in the coming months, and we'll notify you of that, so you can also review the plan and provide feedback as needed. Micronesia Challenge, we're in the process of updating the Sustainable Finance Plan for Guam's Micronesia Challenge. The activities of our working group are in part of the Micronesia Challenge and will be used to update the Sustainable Finance Plan. So Guam currently has an endowment for the MC that will eventually assist in funding for activities that support the goals of the MC, but also it helps us to identify funding gaps that are needed for many of the conservation projects, especially in our framework. Sea Grant is leading the effort in updating the sustainable financing plan, and we will be sending out a survey to all stakeholders that will assist in the update of the plan. So we do need everyone to provide information, and our timeline is really short, it's a short turnaround time. So we really need everyone's support, and Banji is requesting and hoping as part of this effort to have a meeting within our G3 group to provide further details about this plan. And she's hoping that the LT will be the one to lead or call the meeting. Kyle Dahilik was at our meeting last week, and he's still looking for more activities for the youth to engage in. So if you have any outreach events or other activities for the youth, please reach out to Kyle. Thank you. That's all our updates.
Just a question, of course, friend, I'm happy to convene for sure. So I think Rob from my office is on here. He may not be, but I'll make sure that we schedule that. So friend, please coordinate with Rob in my office. Okay. And then I just wanted to maybe, Fran and maybe Austin and Rita, do you think you can maybe do a consultation with the youth ambassadors and just make sure that we're really capturing all of their efforts? I had some information as part of the youth organizing effort that there might be some other areas that they may feel they could participate in that maybe they're not activated, but maybe it'll be helpful if you do some a direct meeting with the youth ambassadors to try and kind of see where we are, having been doing this for a little bit of time, and see if we need to refine the engagement and the action of the youth ambassadors.
Okay, sounds good. I think Kyle met with Austin last week about some projects. So, but we can get together definitely with the youth ambassadors.
Yes, thank you, Fran, and thank you, LT.
Fran, can I ask a question of Fran? Sorry,
yes, sure.
Fran, I was wondering, I really appreciated what President Christ said earlier about the multiplicity and the overlap of all of us. And I was wondering what role the Pacific Island Development Bank plays in plans. It's just such an interesting creation that has Guam in there, and then you have the FAS and the Marshalls, and I think Kiribati and Nauru have joined it. So they have so many different abilities, and I'm just wondering, are they ever included as a receptacle to receive climate change funding for the jurisdictions? They are a development bank.
Yeah, currently I am not aware of that, but I can yield to Trina, who's on here, and she could probably answer that because she's done work with them.
Thanks, Fran. I don't think they have received climate money, Carlotta. Most of the climate funds, like the Adaptation Fund or the Green Climate Fund, you have to be an accredited entity. And so far, Micronesia Conservation Trust, I think, is the smallest accredited entity for those bodies. But they could certainly, if Pacific Development Bank is interested, they could learn from Micronesia Conservation Trust on how to go about it. But it is a lengthy process to get accredited to be an implementing entity and receive those funds. So, but if they're interested, we could certainly set something up where MCT could share their experience with Pacific.
That's what I recommended. I was in a national climate assessment group, and I said, put MCT on the road, put Willie Koska on the road, and have him teach everybody. I was on the board with you. It was like a 5 or 6 year process.
Yeah, but because because MCT went through it first as the guinea pig, I think there are some great lessons learned they could share from both sides of how to help smaller entities to become accredited.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you. And so just to answer Fran's question earlier, yes, any updates that were made or changes made to your team's goals or action items, please include them in the G3 action framework working document that I mentioned earlier. And so with that, it's a great transition then to move to the team Sustainable Alliances. So we'll have Trina and Carlotta, the new co-chair for the Sustainable Alliance team, share any updates.
Okay.
Yeah,
Trina,
Carlotta,
you want to go?
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm happy to start, and then Carlotta, please jump in.
Okay, please, because yours is going to be our usual stuff. Mine is the new things that I brought in with Mel and with the Lieutenant Governor.
Yeah, we don't have much to report on the usual stuff. We're working on trying to get some research support, thanks to Mel Mendiola offering some research support under her an existing MOU between University of Guam and the Guam Economic Development Authority. So there's not much to report. We do have a call this afternoon. We have a meeting this afternoon. We did not have our last meeting, but we are thrilled to have Carlotta on board now as co-chair. That will be great. One thing I at the beginning of this call, Austin asked if I could provide a quick update on our Oceans Conference in Palau, and I'm happy to do that. I just was on an earlier call. As it stands right now, at least 18 countries, governments have confirmed that they are going to attend, and 32 NGOs/private sector entities have confirmed they want to attend. And that includes 3 heads of state from each ocean, which I think is pretty cool. So Antigua, Maldives, and Federated States of Micronesia have all confirmed their heads of states are coming. The programs they're in the process of firming up the panelists. The side event application process just closed on the 14th, and the commitments closed today. So if you're going to put in a commitment, it closes today. And then once those are closed, then more information will be out, more public facing for people to see what proposed commitments there are and the different side events and things. And hopefully the panel, the panelists will be confirmed. But it's still meant to be happening on the 13th and 14th of April. So over to you, Carlotta.
Thank you very much. When one of the things that I also appreciate about President Christ is saying about the overlap and the multiplicity. I feel that I was kind of out here as regional advisor in the Pacific, and I feel like the Lieutenant Governor kind of pulled me in and said, I'm hooking you up with Mel, and let's see what you're doing and what he's doing and find what's interesting about that. And it's been really great to be, I have to say, the synergy of coming in and having a team to discuss it with. So thank you, LT, for that guided structure, if you will. I'll take it like that. So one of the things that we've been discussing with the Lieutenant Governor is, I know on part of our alliance is the way that we're looking at DoD is one way, and another way that the lens that we want to apply is to expand DoD their humanitarian role and capabilities. And so one of the very first things that's most visible to begin that would be to push for legislation to amend the Denton Amendment. The Denton Amendment is the mechanism under which you can move humanitarian cargo on military ships and planes, but it's restricted to medicines. As an example, you can't move medicines, you can't move pharmaceuticals. So a huge way to be helpful to use the military might would be to get that fixed so that you can move donated medicine and medical supplies on military craft and get them all the way out to Ulithi, to Kapinga Marangi, to the neighborhood. And so it's trying to have DoD have a role different than war training. And that is, if you're in the neighborhood, the neighbors, if you're going that way, you're going to carry cargo for us. That's just how neighbors are. And an example would be to expand the Christmas drop from just the once a year to what people decide to drop on them, to say 4 times a year, and have the cargo be driven by what that island submits. So if they say you get 800 pounds of cargo, what do you want? That's way different and way more responsive and way helpful, because ultimately we want to help them stay and thrive on their islands and do well and respond to climate change and not forced to come into our system. So that's something we've been working with the LT on and having those discussions, and it's being pushed. George might be able to speak to it, Senator Bamba. So we're working with Senator Bamba and his outfit with Veritapasna to find how do we do that in the NDAA? What is that mechanism? And I don't know if George wants to add to it, or later on in our sub-meeting with Sustainable Alliances. I don't know how much time we have here. Is George there?
Yeah, actually, I've been discussing it with Vera, and to see what's the because we need to be able to get it into the NDAA. There's right now the DoD has a humanitarian mission. It's all part of their their area of responsibilities to provide humanitarian assistance. Now the issue comes with whether or not including it into the legislation, eventually law. Would that be because we still have to reach out to the different island governments, the FAS, Palau, and to be able to, because we want to make sure that there's coordination directly between, and nobody, the area of responsibility for DoD remains as the provider or the assistance, but then getting the island governments to be able to coordinate with DoD, that's going to be the key. And whether or not would it be appropriate or feasible to include it in the NDAA and have it as a statutory function between independent nations and DoD. So there's we're still looking at how best to coordinate the DoD's participation as well as the participation of the island governments. So that's where we're at now. But we've been looking at it.
I think the outlook is a very much expanded opportunities to put things on vessels, given the dynamic situation right in the geopolitics here, but also now both the presidents of FSM and Palau working now directly with Department of Defense to increase all of the support they need, right? Because the other part of it is that the two islands are now having issues maintaining their maritime borders, and the additional, I guess the additional penetration of those borders by these fishing, especially fishing, and all these research vessels that are getting in without their permission, right? So I think the sense is that if the infrastructure is going to start opening up, then I think Carlotta's point is a mechanism to understand what the capacity is that humanitarian goods can be sent in now, right? As a way of expanding the supply chain. Yep. Okay.
They do it on a sporadic basis right now, and it has to do with whether that captain or that moment or what's available. So to have a policy that gets us more yeses than nos, that when they're heading out, that they look to the islands, and instead of going to just check a buoy, they check with that island and say, what do you need? So that would be a big, huge shift in their mindset but I think they're heading that way anywhere. There's so many meetings I've been participating with in Indo-PACOM, security in the Pacific, and I'm really getting a sense that they want to strengthen their relationships out here in the Pacific, and being able to move medicine is like the most basic way to make friends, in my opinion, out here. So that's one of the reasons why we've targeted the Denton to lift that prohibition on moving medicine, donated medicine on military vessels. So that's one of the big things that we're working on and bringing in. And the other thing is on another relationship, the Pacific Island Forum. We've never left it. We've never threatened to leave it. And now we're taking steps to strengthen our relationship and go for increased associate status. So that's a big improvement. And also taking a greater role, reaching out to Papua New Guinea. Papua New Guinea was a key vote that voted for the Marshall Islands president to be in charge of PIF. And so we kind of reached out to Papua New Guinea and said, thank you so much for doing that, because the governor wants us to strengthen our relationship with Papua New Guinea. So we've also started doing that. They're a big, huge country, a lot of resources, and they've already shown that they care about Micronesia. So I'm being the governor, lieutenant governor, want us to go and make friends with more Pacific leaders.
Right, and just so everybody knows, the Micronesian countries have suspended their withdrawal from the Pacific Islands Forum and pushed it back now to June with and monitoring promises made for some reforms that are going to include the Micronesian nations and, their governance structure. So, okay, but I don't know if you went into another report, Carlotta, or did you just finish? Anyway,
that's it.
Rita,
that's all I've got. Pacific Island Forum and DOD are the two partners that I alliances that I reported on. So sorry if I took up too much time.
Thank you. I have one update for this section. Last year in the University of Guam 21st Century Bill or law, University of Guam was formalized as the focal point for the government of Guam for the Secretariat of the Pacific Regional Environment Program, SPREP. And so President Christ, if you'd like to just mention a little bit about the marine plastic pollution declaration that you were able to endorse that is going out to the United Nations this month.
Thank you, Austin. Yeah, that's making the rounds of the newspapers now, the approval of the Guam's joining in the declaration against ocean plastics and microplastics. So it's calling attention to the damage this is doing to particularly to island nations, but I mean really the whole world. So it's great to see. I don't know what the total number is for the signatories, but it's important for us to join in that effort. So, and of course the makerspace provides us the opportunity to keep some of that plastic from getting into the ocean. So that's a key part of the pledge, is to stop throwing it away and try to recycle a lot more. So I think it's no more than 9% of the plastic that has ever been created has ever been recycled. So yeah, 91% of the plastic is not recycled. So that's we have lots of room to move, but to improve. But this is a step in that direction. Thanks, Austin.
Thank you, President Kreis. So Lieutenant Governor, I think it's back to us. I think that those are all the team leads.
Yes, actually, yes. So I don't see any team leads from data and public engagement and any of the youth ambassadors. So I'll be sure to reconnect with them, as you mentioned, Lieutenant Gov, to talk about how we could incorporate them more into those youth events.
Excellent. Well, you know what? We do have one more meeting to go before the biannual meeting in April. So I guess I would encourage everybody to meet, I think by March. And Austin, I think maybe we're going to use the same method of presentation that we had at the last biannual meeting. I'm not sure if there might be an improvement to that, but that would be the foundation. So I would suggest that since it's going to be this is a very public and a larger, I guess, community interest in April, I'd encourage you to really take some time to get the updates done on your areas and maybe use the time that you will have to focus in on some of the projects that have a very, very wide appeal or a very wide impact in the community. It's going to be a tremendous opportunity also for people that either don't know what we're doing or maybe might not have the time to get an update. This is a big audience, and so I would just say for the different teams, it's a good opportunity to bring attention to areas that you either want to showcase or maybe areas that you need help. Maybe there might be something that you think is not moving the right way, and with additional support or attention that we can use the biannual meeting to give you, it might be able to catch up in some time. So that'll be kind of like my recommendation. Austin, what do you think?
No, just to add to that, I do think we will have some of our international visitors coming in person from the Global Island Partnership and the Hawaii Green Growth Local 2030 Hub. So they've been meeting with us in our past biannual meetings to give us updates on what's going on with islands around the rest of the world. So it'd be really great to have them in person, and we're going to try to catch a lot more people that are planning to go to Palau the following week and have a really productive 2 weeks between Guam and Palau in these events. Oh, I wanted to just also mention that we can, I think, be a little more flexible this time with your presentations. We should still submit that quadrant that Rita is sending to all of you. That should be the official submission. But if you can still stick within the allotted time, which I think was maybe 5 minutes per team last time or so, feel free to add maybe a couple pictures here and there if we want to have a more exciting presentation. So we're happy to help out with that from
Right, I was going to say there's a lot of
well.
talent over there at the Center for Island Sustainability. So if you need some technical assistance, I think reach out, and I think Miracle and others are going to be able to respond to your needs.
Thank you.
All right, if there's no further business, do we have, I know that we might have some folks in the media here. And so are there any questions from anybody in the Zoom room or any topic that anybody wants to raise? If not, the meeting is adjourned, and we will reconvene in March. And Rita, just can you remind us it's going to be what's our next date?
The next date will be March 16. So it's the same date as this month. So March 16, it will be Wednesday at 10 a.m.
All right, see you then. Stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.